Hey, so it's been a while since our last upload. Nick and I took a break for recording during the holidays. I know, terrible timing. Y2K, Nosferatu, Sonic 3, Wicked. The good news is we're back recording, and 2025 is looking like a great year for film and TV. And we have a lot of shows planned and on the way. However, we did a fun project on YouTube where we did a 12-episode countdown of Marvel's best post-credit scenes. As a treat, today's and the next episode of the pod is the audio from that project. If you're interested, I highly recommend visiting our YouTube page to look at the visuals. It was my first time trying my hand at some entry-level animation, and it's not too shabby. But in any case, today I present the first 6 choices of our top 12 Merry Marvel Christmas Countdown. Hope you enjoy. The holidays. It's a time for getting together and spreading controversy.
What are you talking about?
Family get-togethers that are ultimately spoiled by that one uncle who's going to say that one thing that no one should say that sends the entire holiday into a tailspin.
Actually, yeah. But maybe not a great premise for a holiday video.
True. Well, what about a Christmas movie marathon where we go over all the beloved classics of American cinema and review why such old movies have become such valued treasures endeared to the hearts of American moviegoers, bringing families together for generations past and generations to come?
Or we could just do a Marvel post-credit scene countdown.
Screw the holiday cheer. I'm all in.
Good, because I'm not watching It's a Wonderful Life ever again.
Technically, that does count as a time travel movie.
Moving on.
Right. Sorry. To celebrate the holiday movie marathon watching, we're going over scenes that thread the Marvel Cinematic Universe together.
Love them or hate them, post-credit scenes are what gave birth to the most successful cinematic universe of all time. We've gone through the 12 best and most iconic scenes that cemented Marvel as the superhero silver screen juggernaut that it is today.
Yes, but does this inherently have anything to do with Christmas?
No, and who cares?
That works for me. But we should have some sort of Christmas theming to it. I don't know, call it maybe an MCU MCUL.
Is that a Merry Christmas Ultimate Marvel Cinematic Universe list?
Exactly.
That sucks.
Well, what about
a Marvel Merry Christmas Countdown?
Oh, that sings.
Right?
Yeah, like Christmas Caroler sings.
Ugh. Don't make this weirder than it already is.
Yeah, right. Sorry. So join us for our Merry Marvel Christmas Countdown of the best post-credit scenes this holiday, starting off with number 12.
Number 12.
Okay, so we're starting off swinging. Coming in at number 12 on our list is a scene at the end of the Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings movie. And wouldn't you know it, this scene has Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings.
Hear us out. Phases 1 through 3 strung a universe together with mid-credit scenes. And we think a good scene in the credits does a few things.
First, it's intriguing. Some kind of problem or mystery is presented to the audience.
Second, it should push the story Marvel is trying to tell with its greater universe forward.
Also, it should have hype. It should excite you for what comes next.
And lastly, if it's not going to do any of those things, it should at least be entertaining.
And the scene in Shang-Chi's credits is literally all of those things.
Coming in as one of the longest post-credit scenes at 2 minutes and 20 seconds. Sheesh. This scene sets up a mystery about what the hell these rings even are.
Nick, I remember getting to this scene and this felt so important, right?
Yeah.
We're in phase 4. This felt like the first big direction of phase 4 that we were getting, right? Like this was, that scene with Nick Fury, you're about to become part of a bigger world. It literally felt like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
With Wong talking to our guy here, Shang-Chi, right? It felt like we were entering into something bigger.
Yeah. Bruce Banner's there. I think also Captain Marvel, right? So, essentially some of the most important characters, moving forward. And we're all, have this question mark about what are these and where they come from. And super important. Definitely felt Fury-esque from that first time. That really felt like we were about to push to the next phases here of Marvel.
Oh, yeah. No, 100%. And, I think this was the first time since probably Endgame that we had any semblance that the Avengers were, still an organization. Not just talked about, there were at least two Avengers next to each other. Maybe you can include Wong in that.
Mhm.
3 Avengers talking, and I don't know if we've seen any semblance of a Avengers organization really since then either.
Right, yeah, that's a great point. And one of my favorite parts of the scene too is we had a big question mark for a while of like, why is Bruce in a sling? You know,
Mhm.
It's like, is Bruce Banner, not the Hulk? Why is he in a sling? What's going on? How did this happen? Because prior to that, he was the blend of Hulk. He had, you know, in Endgame, he had become, he had put the brains and the brawn together, and he was Smart Hulk. But in this after credit scene, he was just Bruce Banner, and we had no idea why. So there was even more questions that came up after that, which we got those answers later in She-Hulk, but still really cool.
Right. It's super, super interesting, and it recontextualized what we had already come to know about the Ten Rings, right? That they were just these mystical weapons, right? And then we're told, no, they're actually not that. They're a beacon for something else, something that is coming, right? Like that felt like a Thanos is coming. Something is coming,
Right.
right? And that was exciting. This felt so promising for Phase 4 when it first came out.
And now we're not sure with Marvel changing its plan. So
That's the thing, right? That's why this for me this could have been higher on the list, honestly, because like I said before, it has everything. We haven't even talked about Wong singing karaoke with Shang-Chi and Katie later, which is a great way to a great joke to have piggybacked on from earlier in the movie, and just like a really fun way to see Wong. But yeah, we don't know if this is actually even relevant anymore with the changes that Marvel has seen. So for that reason, until we actually know whether or not this is going to be important down the road, or this is just going to be cast aside, this is going to be toward the bottom of our top 12.
Number 11.
The holidays, it's all about family.
And when it comes to family, were there ever a pair of Marvel siblings as close as the twins?
You didn't see that coming?
That's right. Number 11 on our top Marvel post-credit scenes list is the introduction of the first pair of twins into the MCU.
And definitely not the last.
Spoilers, dude.
It's literally been 10 years.
Regardless, this scene comes off the heels of my favorite MCU film, Captain America and the Winter Soldier, and after a pretty grayish victory, we're introduced to Baron Strucker.
Who, honestly, in Age of Ultron, kind of a huge disappointment.
I'm going to surrender.
It is wild to me that this character still exists in the MCU, and nothing has been done with him.
Where's this guy? Like, where did he go?
He went to prison. He got exactly what he wanted, right? At the start of Age of Ultron, he was like, take me away. And he got taken away. We just never saw him again. But more importantly, in this scene, we found out, you know, at the end of Winter Soldier, after that huge catastrophe, Hydra still lives, right?
Yes. Still alive. And we get an intro to Wanda, Pietro Maximoff, which the reason this is on our list here is, personally, Wanda Maximoff is one of my favorite Marvel characters. And so this reveal in this post-credit scene was one of the coolest moments for me, and I never get tired of watching this post-credit scene over again whenever we're doing like a rewatch of the cinematic universe of Marvel. So this is just a top for me regardless. And technically the first intro to mutants in the MCU, which is like, you know, nerd alert, let's go.
Right, like this was such an awesome scene to experience in the theaters, because when you're watching it, you're totally aware, yes, okay, so we're teasing another Avengers movie because Pietro and Wanda, they're both Avengers, like we know that that's true from the comics, but like you said, like it was this weird gray area where we could take two mutants away from Fox Century because like they're not just mutants, they're Avengers. And honestly, coming off the heels of Joss Whedon's, you know, smashing success of the first Avengers movie, I think we were all just excited that Avengers 2 like was on the horizon, right?
I just remember being like extremely excited when I saw this in theaters. Just like, for me, mega moment.
Oh, I was a little creeped out, to be completely honest with you. Like the audience I was with was definitely feeling this moment, but like the way Elizabeth Olsen is moving her fingers and like
So
she
creepy.
seems like entranced with like what she's doing, and then Pietro is like kind of fidgety and he's not used to his powers yet. Like there was something like inherently really creepy about the two of them, you know?
Super creepy. It was a great call.
They just seemed unhinged. And honestly, like it is one of the more, I think, sinister post-credit scene endings that I think we get.
Number 10.
Hi, I'm Captain America.
I can't believe you convinced me to put this on here.
I have a perfectly legitimate reason.
I said you convinced me. That doesn't mean I'm going to be happy when the comment section is on fire.
Okay, I agree. It's not the most hype post-credit scene.
Most hype? There's literally zero hype. It's the opposite of hype. It's anti-hype.
And that's the joke. Okay, so remember earlier when we listed our criteria for what makes a good post-credit scene?
Yeah, hype was literally on the criteria list.
Yes, but so was something that is entertaining, and I'm sorry, this was a good joke. It wasn't the first post-credit scene to lean into humor, but it was the first to fourth wall break in the MCU until Deadpool became canon.
Look, I appreciate you trying to do something different, and it was funny, but is it still funny?
That's a good question, and humor is subjective, but keep in mind, this is a running gag in the movie, and this was the payoff. Honestly, when I remember sitting in theaters, and when you get the white screen, we're all sitting there like very like expectingly like, oh, what's gonna happen? Like we just got the post-credit scene with Scorpion, right? Like what's gonna happen next, right? And then Steve comes walking out onto the screen. As he waltzes out, like half of my theater just rolled their eyes and were like, oh my God. Because like before he said anything, like people realized what was about to happen.
Yeah.
And like being part of that reaction honestly was just so freaking funny.
Yeah, the in-theater reaction was really cool. We basically got felt like we all got like rickrolled by Captain America, basically.
Yes.
You know, so because, you know, there's nothing happening here. The reaction in theater was hilarious, but ultimately, I'm still mad about being rickrolled, so.
I mean, fair. And honestly, this might be one of the more controversial picks on our list, and I'm sure that there are going to be people who absolutely disagree with this ever appearing on any top 12 list, right?
Yeah.
But I have reasons, and it is funny. I think it's a good gag, and maybe you disagree with that, but one thing it does do is it fleshes out the MCU in a way, you know, at least with the overall gag, right? Of having Captain America enter your classroom and is talking to you about like all these different things, like, you know, safe sex or like bullying or like whatever, right? And then of course the gag at the end, the expectations, right? So like in this Spider-Man movie, like we already had like Iron Man's presence very well known, and then you have this Captain America thing coming up, which also it was cool that they were referencing something from Captain America's roots as a propaganda machine, right? Like here we are in the modern century, and like they're still trying to get that out of him.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. Probably a little bit controversial to be there at number 10.
If you disagree with it, we get it, but like I think this scene is important because it redefines what the post-credit scene could be, right? Like it doesn't always have to be something that pushes the narrative. It could be something self-contained to the movie itself, something that's entertaining, something that's memorable, right? And I think we get to see a few of those down the line. You know, I think of the guy punching himself at the end of Multiverse of Madness. If you or hated it, it's there, it's funny. It redefines again what you're allowed to do at the end of these movies. The nostalgia Fox Century trip. I think you can, you know, harken back to this and like really take a look at what was possible.
Yeah.
And for me, this was one of the funnier scenes that Marvel ever did with a post-credit scene.
Number 9.
Time. It's not what you think it is, Nick.
It's not?
Not according to Victor Timely.
Ah, I see. Do you think Victor wanted to invent time travel so it could be Christmas all the time?
Not even a little bit.
Well, fine then. Let's get into this pick at number 9 on our list. I imagine it might be a bit controversial.
Oh, I think so. It's such an interesting scene, though, coming off of the end of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, especially since it's tied to a TV series.
Yeah, this is a great point. Is this the first post-credit scene in a movie for Marvel that was tied to a TV series? I think so.
I think it is. I think it might be the only one.
It might be the only one, actually. Yeah, and this is one of the reasons it's on our list at number 9, but not the main reason. The main reason is, I guess, part of the controversial issue here, and one of those is, you know, we got to see another variant of Kang before there was no more Kang, which is the controversial part of this.
Right? Yeah, Kang was, you know, for all for all intentions, painted as the main villain of phases 4 through 6, right? He was our new Thanos. And what really sells that is Loki's fear here. You remember? Him telling Mobius like how terrifying this guy actually is. And Tom Hiddleston is such a good actor. You see that fear in his eyes too.
Yeah.
I was hyped.
The fear was terrifying, honestly, and the super hyped when watching that scene for sure. But the other reason it's on this list is because Loki's future completely just took a insane turn after we got to see the end of Loki season 2. And so this scene really setting up that season and then setting up what Loki's future is really makes this scene important for the MCU and for what might still be to come, even though there's no more Kang.
I agree with what you're saying there, Nick. And unlike what we said about Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings, we actually do know, at least for now, what the immediate plans are for Kang, right? That this is the end of this character. So at least for what this scene served in giving us like a little peek into Loki season 2, I think it was really effective. And no matter how you felt about Quantumania, I think we all agree Loki season 1 was really interesting. We weren't expecting to see a sneak peek of it here, and what little we got definitely piqued interest for the season 2. And wow, did season 2 deliver. But that is a video in and of itself.
Number 8.
They'll come for him. Let them try.
You sure about this?
Wait, am I sure about the scene being number 8, or are we reenacting the scene right now?
I'm lost. What?
You sure about this is Cap's opening line.
Oh, get out of here. I hate you.
I can't trust my own mind.
Unbelievable. Anyway, this post-credit scene from Civil War takes place in Wakanda with King T'Challa delivering the iconic line, "Let them try."
I love this scene. One, because like, you know, I think it's our first time seeing Wakanda, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, no,
right?
this is it. This is the first glance of Wakanda we ever get.
First glance of Wakanda, and then of course like Bucky and Captain America are there. Bucky's going on ice, basically, because his head's still all screwed up. Yeah, I love this scene. And then T'Challa is just so iconic with that line.
Dude, like with every line T'Challa gives, right? Like earlier in the movie, he gives that cold line to Zemo when he stops him for committing suicide, and he's like,
Living, I'm not done with you yet.
And then go from that all the way to this post-credit scene with, of course, "Let them try," right?
Yeah.
And then that's like followed up with like the vocals of like Wakanda in the background and the zoom in of the Panther itself.
Yeah.
It's just so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, this scene, I think, works for all of our boxes, all of our criteria, right? It pushes the narrative forward, it builds intrigue, there's hype, and like, honestly, even if it was just hype, no humor, it's entertaining. This scene rules.
1000%. Also, quick note, the bromance of Cap and Bucky is undefeated because Captain America will go anywhere for Bucky. Doesn't matter what. Like, unbelievable commitment to the friendship.
It should be noted that, you know, when we ended Captain America Civil War, that we actually got 2 teases for 2 different movies at the end here, Spider-Man Homecoming and then Black Panther. And I think both times the crowd reaction was hype for both of those scenes, but no, it was this scene, at least in the theater that I was in, that people were ready for Black Panther.
Yeah.
Maybe it was because there hadn't been a Black Panther movie at that moment. Maybe it was T'Challa's line. Maybe it was just the sight of the statue itself. I don't know what it was. Maybe the idea that we were going to like a new land, but people were living this. It was the hype.
Yeah, that was definitely like a sick moment in theaters.
Number 7.
I feel like everything's gonna work out fine.
Well, that's not ideal.
You know what's sad, Nick?
What's that, Joe?
After 4 movies of tug of war for the throne of Asgard, Thor and Loki went through the literal end of the world in Ragnarok, and then for a moment, just a moment, they had peace. They were able to be just brothers.
And then Thanos showed up.
Spoiler alert, it was not fine.
Coming in at number 7 of our top 12 post-credit scenes list is the arrival of the Mad Titans flagship, the Sanctuary 2.
Now, this is how you introduce a villain. We just saw Thor, Hulk, Loki, and Valkyrie defeat the literal goddess of death, and in the ashes of Ragnarok, something even larger loomed on the horizon.
It's just a terrifying way to keep us hanging at the time.
Yeah, this post-credit scene stands out for a few reasons. Like many that came before it, this scene teases the next movie, but unlike other post-credit scenes, this one doesn't just tease what comes next in the movie, it teases a tone shift.
Thanos is coming, and he is not messing around.
Ragnarok succeeded as one of Marvel's funniest movies to date.
Just for once in your life, don't smash.
Big monster!
It was good times and it was fun. And then Infinity War gets teased.
And it is not fun. It is very not fun.
Exactly. Similar to Ant-Man's credit scene where Loki finds Kang or Victor Timely, this scene shows us the story is about to take a dark turn.
Super dark. Such a wild transition from Ragnarok to Infinity War. And this scene is the connection. In the theater, I remember just screaming, "Oh,
Language.
There was something about this moment whereas other post-credit scenes, the audience is yeah, most of the time. I remember comic book nerds just yelling at the top of their lungs. They're so excited. And then this scene happened and there was something so dreadful about it. People were still excited, right? People were hyped, but in a different way.
Right. It's just the nervousness of not knowing, but knowing that it's just all downhill from here. And just like you said, a tone shift.
Yeah. And you know what it is? It's the very simple idea of something much larger has shown up, right? A much bigger problem. It's the sheer size of the Sanctuary 2 compared to the Statesman that they're writing it, right? The Statesman is holding all of the inhabitants of Asgard, right? Not a place, it's a people, but it's the entire population of all Asgardians at this point, which granted, after what happened in the movie, probably not nearly as many, but still a lot of people. An entire civilization is in this ship, and then all of a sudden something bigger just arrives behind it, and there's something about that idea that is terrifying. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Jaws. You know, when you see the boat that they're on, and then you realize how much bigger Jaws actually is in comparison to the ship. It's exactly that moment, where the monster is right there, and you come to appreciate how actually enormous the monster is. It's the Jaws effect.
This post-credit scene has a Jaws effect. And it makes it impossible to not immediately put on Infinity War after you've watched this movie, Ragnarok, and then watch this scene. You're just okay, well, I don't care what time of day it is. I'm putting on Infinity War right now, and we're just gonna finish this phase right now. We're gonna do it all tonight.
That is such a good point because, honestly, it segues brilliantly into the next film, right? It feels like it's just all, even though there's a tone shift, it feels like it's all just one story at that point.
Yeah, 100%. But
really, honestly, for that reason, it actually, I think, works better than most other post-credit scenes, right? It chains up to the next movie perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, it's Infinity War picks up right from here, basically. So it's probably the closest in a timeline connection that two films have in the MCU. And so it's just yet another reason why we've got this at number 7 on our list. But what we want to know is what you all think. Does this scene belong on Marvel's best post-credit scene list? Let us know in the comments.
And be sure to tune in for the next 6 days as we count down the best Marvel post-credit scenes. It's a Merry Marvel Christmas countdown.
Peace.